So My Hero Academia chapter 380 is finally out. And wow, me saying finally actually means something this time. It's been 2 whole weeks. How you guys been? You need a hug? Because I sure do. God, I'm so lonely. But anyways, with this new chapter, we see the continuation of the climactic war of the My Hero world. And let's just say, quite a lot happens. And so, without further ado, let's jump right into My Hero Academia chapter 380, titled Close Call for Reals. This chapter opens up exactly where the last chapter left off, as we see everyone's favorite criminal turned hero, Gentle, struggling to hold up the floating UA as he lets us know that his quirk is at its limit and his air trampoline is about to be undone. While Brava asks him to hang on just a little longer because she is almost done with recalibrating the floating structure's engines, it occurs to our magnificent showman that for the first time, no one is recording his and everyone else's heroic actions. Although, regardless of this, with a smirk of determination, he still gives it his all, admitting that with or without an audience, he'll fight because it's the right thing to do. However, in an ironic and fitting twist of fate, immediately after thinking this, Gentle notices the business course students aboard UA with their phones out recording everything that is happening. But quite surprisingly for his character, Gentle's heroic instincts kick in, and he shouts at the students to stop recording and to back away to safety as they're getting too close to the danger. Gentle denying the spotlight? Now you know he's a changed man. Though despite Gentle's best efforts, the spotlight can't stay off him, as not only do the business course students stay recording, stating how it's partially their fault for society falling as they didn't build a good enough public image for the heroes, which I'm not gonna lie, I really disagree with, considering these are just kids and there was some pretty shitty heroes in the world before all of this. But while recording Gentle, they also begin to narrate how this is the incredible story of a villain in custody who has decided to help the heroes. Now that's a story I can get behind. And La Brava agrees, as she informs the business course students that they are doing a great job, as she sets up multiple websites live streaming everything they are recording, not only showing off how amazing her Gentle is, but also showing the world how much the heroes are fighting. And to top it all off, she also completes recalibrating UA, and the structure begins to float on its own once again. Man, La Brava came in clutch for the heroes here. Unfortunately, not everything turns out as you would plan, as while all of this was going on, the Twice clones attacking Aizawa and the others call out that it's time to eliminate the heroes, and we see them push Aizawa off the floating structure. Present Mic, in seeing this, immediately jumps after his friend in a desperate attempt to catch him. But before he can even reach Aizawa, a still glitching Kurogiri appears and teleports the 2 heroes away. And we don't know where. Kaminari, in seeing this, exclaims that it looks like Kurogiri saved Aizawa and Present Mic from falling to their deaths, which yes, he did. But Mandalay more notably points out that with Aizawa gone, they have now lost his vital power, Quirk Erasure. Mandalay continues, saying that all the heroes can do now is believe in themselves and keep fighting, as the business class students turn their cameras away from Gentle and right onto Shigaraki and Midoriya, who are facing off on the ground. But before we can see any more of this fated fight, the story cuts back on over to Gunga Mountain. They're blue balling us so bad. Where All For One, flying through the air, admits that he never actually planned to fuse his personality with Shigaraki at all. His original plan was for him to permanently take control over Shigaraki's body. The fusion of the two only occurred because All For One wasn't expecting Tomura's desire for destruction to be so strong. Basically, Tomura's desire for destruction overpowered All For One's willpower, which says a lot about his desire to destroy. Despite this upset in his plan, All For One still isn't panicked, as he claims all he needs to do is, and I quote, make Tomura's body absorb the quirk factor of his original body, referring to All For One's original body, for All For One's domain to become absolute. Which sounds complicated, but I'm pretty sure it boils down to if Tomura comes in in contact with All For One gets control. However, on his way to UA to fulfill his plan, All For One is intercepted by HAWKS, who declares that he won't let the villain go and that he's going to beat All For One for the sake of the new generation. HAWKS then performs a trick attack on All For One, faking a sword swing to lower All For One's guard and using his feathers to actually swing the sword a moment later. But All For One, proving too much for the hero, dodges this attack. And in a truly fatal and shocking moment, to our surprise, and especially Tokoyami's, who screams out as he witnesses this all go down, All For One lets out a strike on the winged hero, completely obliterating HAWKS' body. R.I.P. HAWKS. That is until roses appear around HAWKS' decapitated head and he makes the typical sexy face we all know and love that is associated with none other than Kami's illusions. That's right, Shiketsu High has entered the fight. I think Tokoyami's reaction here is pretty appropriate for the occasion. As it turns out, mere seconds before our beloved bird boy became a roast chicken, Shishikura, aka Meatball, grabbed HAWKS and pulled him out of the way. At the same time, Kami made an illusion of his body. Now that's a tag team attack. Also, the reason this chapter is called Close Call for Reals is because Kami says this exact thing after they save HAWKS. I was wondering why it was so weird. But anyway, Shishikura then goes on to say that initially they were given the task of protecting civilians, but their mission was suddenly changed and they were told to come here and fight. That's the reason they are so late in joining this battle. But it's as they say, better late than never, because after explaining their lateness, Inasa, aka Windman, aka former Endeavor hater, uses his quirk to make all of the Twice clones fly into the air and gather in one place. As he calls out to All For One, you thought the winds of fortune were blowing in your favor, but it is I who controls the winds. Oh, that's just straight up cool! And that's it for chapter 380. Let me know what you thought of this chapter. If you liked this video, don't forget to leave a like. For more My Hero content, subscribe to the Lunchtime crew. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Plus Ultra.